Hi, this is Maggie from Green Cardigan Counseling, and welcome back to Get Comfortable. Today we are visiting with Angie Pahira to talk about her work as a yoga instructor, working in functional movement, and as she calls herself, as a movement specialist. She explains how different injuries throughout her life led her to being a movement specialist and her deeper understanding of the importance of movement throughout one's life. When I've talked to other people about like starting the podcast back up, and they're like, well, who's your guest going to be? And I'm like, oh, it's Angie. She works at Mandala Den, and she's a yoga instructor, and she does personal training, and like all things movement is kind of what I think of.
Sure, yeah.
Does that sound
Mobility, exercise therapy is what I specialize in.
Okay.
And I do work at Mandala Den, but I work for myself under the Move Well by Angie Pahira. Yeah, that's kind of my logo for all my social media stuff. Yeah, I work with all different age people. My youngest is probably in their 30s, and my oldest is 83.
Oh, wow.
So all different kinds of folks that, have issues. That's kind of my specialty: injuries, pelvic floor issues, just anything that is inhibiting your daily life.
Okay.
Yeah. I started as a yoga teacher over a decade ago, and I've kind of evolved during that time based on my own injuries that I had during yoga as a teacher and practitioner. And that changed the way that I move for myself, and that also changed the way that I would interact with my clients and help them move. Okay. So, I added in like the strength background, the mobility background, functional range, movement of joints. So it's hard to kind of explain what I do. I was actually telling a client that earlier. I don't know how to explain what I do because it's different with each client. But yeah, movement specialist is probably the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really great title, maybe especially because you came up with it for yourself, that like that's how you identify professionally, as like a movement specialist. And
right.
That does seem to cover
everything.
All the things that you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about how you came to be in this line of work. Like when you were a kid, were you like, I want to go into this industry? Like, where did all of this start?
No. Well, for a while, I thought I would be a ballerina, like most little girls. I love dance. And I had my first major injury in high school when I was a dancer and had 3 knee surgeries, over the next 4 years. And that really changed like how I was. And I never really knew how much movement meant to me until it was gone, So it was really important to my mental health. And I think it was like my sophomore year in college where I could no longer really do the things that I wanted to do. So that's when I decided I was going to be an art major. And I did photography and painting and ceramics and all of that. And that kind of became my outlet for, my mental health and stuff. That movement I could no longer move. Mm-hmm. And that was always my outlet. So no, I thought I was going to be an artist for a while. And I was. When we lived in Las Vegas prior to moving back home here, I was a photographer, but I also found yoga a few years before that, and that became like a really major focus in my life. And it was gentle, and I was able to start moving again and like get in my body again. And unfortunately, I have the personality where if something feels good, I'm gonna keep going, and push the boundaries a little bit. And I kind of got into more of the gymnastics-y yoga.
Okay.
And injured myself again. So that's kind of how I ended up in this line of work, because I had those previous injuries. I would, I learned how to take care of my knee issues.
Yeah.
Did art school, became a photographer, did yoga teacher training, got really injured very badly after that because I just overused my body in a way that was really unhealthy. And that's when I was like, okay, well, this isn't working. I have to change how I'm teaching, because I didn't want my people to get hurt that I was working with. And I had private clients there, and a lot of them had injuries. And so having to fit, a pretty vigorous like asana practice for yoga with people that have injuries, I was modifying everything for them anyway. And then I got hurt and had to go to ground zero. I couldn't walk. It was very bad. Slipped 2 discs in my back, tore my labrum in my hip. One day I just could not get out of bed.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So yeah, that kind of led me down this road of wellness and, okay, how do we get past the injury? How do we relearn, kind of retrain our body to move efficiently and be strong and not hurt? So no, yeah, I did not foresee this lifestyle at all, but I always loved to move,
Okay,
so yeah.
How long did you dance before you kind of had to take yourself out of that?
I mean, I danced my entire life. I think I started, my mom put me in my first dance class when I was 2 or 3. And then I guess my first knee injury was when I was 16. And it was kind of, I had one then, and that was during dance. I was on the dance team in high school, and that was pretty devastating because I had to quit. I could no longer I mean, my knee doctor told me, you can't do this to your body anymore. It's too much. And then my senior year, I got injured again. And I think that was just like a sorority softball game or something silly, you know?
Yeah.
And then the third time I went skiing with my family, you know,
Yeah.
snow skiing. And I actually broke my patella.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and it was a total accident, you know, like I had a collision with a snowboarder, and that was just a freak thing.
Sure.
But the recovery from that was pretty brutal. I mean, months and months of being in an immobilizer, and yeah, so that one was rough. That was probably the worst one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you mentioned earlier that you sort of find something that you enjoy doing and you just do it.
Yes.
You've always done that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if my parents would say like when I was a child I was that way.
Okay.
But definitely as an adult, yes, I'm kind of bad about that. You know, I have to be careful about how far I go. You know, it can become a little obsessive. So,
Yeah.
Right.
So you've had this history of, well, I don't want to say history because it seems like it hasn't happened in quite a while, but this older history of these injuries where you're kind of laid up for a long period of time.
Right. And that was with my back injury. I'm very grateful to the yoga community that I had in Vegas because my mentor there, I mean, I was her assistant teacher for a year, and this happened as I was assisting her. And this was the yoga that is very hard on your body. And she was getting more people coming in like with injuries and stuff. So she was adapting her style of teaching. And then I got injured, and she really like helped me a lot. And it wasn't like lay in bed and rest. She was like, get up, come in, let's, you know, and I might lay with my legs up the wall for 20 minutes or whatever and do these very gentle movements, but I was moving and breathing and not tensing up. And, you know, the medical world will just give you medication or surgery or injections. And that might work for a little while, but it's not going to work long term. And sometimes it can make it a lot worse. So I'm just super grateful that I had her because I wasn't really laid up for very long. I mean, I think my back and hip were better within a year. And I mean, I was teaching that whole time. So I learned to not demonstrate as I teach.
Yeah.
And I know you did your yoga teacher training, so you know how difficult that is to lead a class without actually doing the movement.
Yeah. I don't think I've done it once.
Right.
Yeah.
And it really makes you a better teacher.
Okay.
But it's hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that from that perspective of somebody who did have such a committed practice, you were still getting the movement, but like teaching other people and having to sort of sideline yourself would be really difficult.
Yeah, it was. I struggled with not having my own practice. I struggled with teaching classes that I could no longer do. And so that really changed how I taught. And I did step away for a few years and not teach. I just focused a lot on meditation and breathing. And then I had my son. So, and then COVID. So,
there you go.
You know, that changed a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, but I'm so happy that I'm teaching again and I'm not in any pain. I don't have injuries anymore. And I'm just so grateful, that I was led to this point.
Yeah, and sort of early in life learning how to best take care of your body.
Yes, yeah. I don't know that I would choose for all of that to happen again. But yeah, it was a huge struggle, but I learned so much. Yeah.
So in your work now, how often are you working with like a group of people versus like one-on-one training?
Almost every day I'm one-on-one with clients. I teach one group yoga class a week.
Okay.
I do teach a few couples, and they're like my regular clients.
Yeah.
And I love working with couples. I think it's really fun and different, and I think it's really good for relationships to work out together. I think I'm really proud of them because they have come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly it's one-on-ones all day, every day. It's kind of, I joke that it's like a revolving door. I have one come in, one leave, and they all know each other, and they are so sweet to each other and encouraging. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few times where someone will be like, oh, okay, it's your turn to be tortured now. But no, it's mostly one-on-one. I love the group class still. It's a different animal teaching a group of people that you don't know who's going to walk in the door. I feel like that's really challenging. I love seeing different body types come through the door and then, changing my class based on what I'm seeing. I'm actually about to start a new class on Fridays at 5 if anyone wants to come.
Okay, so Fridays at 5. What will you be?
At Mandala Den. It's a functional movement yoga.
Okay.
So kind of a hybrid of what I do with my clients during the day. We do mobility, strength, and then yoga and breath work. Yeah.
That sounds kind of amazing.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I guess that's tomorrow?
So no, it actually doesn't start till July 11th.
Okay.
Yeah, July 11th.
Okay, July 11th.
Depending on when this comes out. Maybe. Maybe it's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that part.
Yeah.
Time is fun. So you mentioned that most of your work is one-on-one, so it's sort of this revolving door that one person comes in and the next person comes out, and everybody's encouraging. And my work is different. Like, it is still individual-based, but I have space, right?
Yeah.
And there isn't that connection between the people that I see.
Right.
But that makes me wonder about the type of relationship you have the opportunity to build with somebody where is there more connection than just teaching them about movement?
Oh, for sure. I see most of them 2 to 3 times a week. So we have to have some type of connection and relationship for me to feel like it's beneficial. They have to trust me. It's a very hard thing to come in with an injury and put your body in someone's hands. And I'm constantly asking, how does this feel? Is this hurting? Are you in pain? Is there discomfort? And to share that with someone and be vulnerable in that way, like, yes, I have to have a connection with that person. And I've had people that come and they work with me for like a month and it's just not there. They're not trusting me. They're not committed to the work. It's hard for me to commit to someone that's not committed to me because this is my time, away from my family. So yeah, there's a huge relationship there. I mean, a lot of them become very close friends. I mean, some feel like family. I'm very, very invested in their health and their wellness, and I know their families, and I hear about their day, and yeah, it's a major relationship. Yeah.
That sounds very familiar.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, a few people do say like that this is their therapy, and I say, no, you need to go have a real therapist. That's out of my scope.
just physical therapy type stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But
have you ever had somebody who they started to work with you, maybe it went on for a month or several weeks, and the connection wasn't there, the trust wasn't there, and they kind of left for a while and came back and it was better?
it's rare that I have anyone leave. I have had that happen a few times, maybe 2 or 3 times since I've been in San Angelo. And it's usually not because, like, I have been the one to initiate, like, maybe this is not the right thing. If I don't feel a connection and I don't feel like they are trusting me to move forward, and I have let some people go, I do that really gently and just say, like, you know, I'm moving on. But no, the 2 that left that kind of broke my heart, I think they were just in a lot of pain. And if you've gone most of your life without moving your body and being in pain, and then someone is asking you to do this really uncomfortable thing, that's hard. It's very hard. And I understand that it wasn't for them, but it also breaks my heart because I feel like, especially with these specific 2, that I could help them.
Yeah.
You know, so that's hard. But no, I've never really had anyone be uncomfortable and then be like, I want to come back. And I don't know that I would let them come back, really, because if you feel the need to move on and do something else, I think you should really like go and try to do that first. There's probably one that I would let come back just because I really enjoyed that person a lot, and I know that I could do a lot for her.
Yeah.
But
that also, there's some familiarity in there too for me, this idea of, because sometimes you go to see like a mental health services provider, therapist, counselor, whatever you want to call us, and it's not a good fit. So like my typical process is if somebody reaches out, I'm like, hey, let's have this consultation. We'll visit for a little bit. That way we can figure out like, what does that person want to work on? Is that in my wheelhouse?
Right.
Is that something that I'm comfortable with, like within the scope of what I can provide before we're investing an hour, before we're investing more money and things like that? But then there is that sense of like, I've had consultations where I don't see that person again, but I'm like, oh man, like that sounded like
that has happened a lot. Yeah, that has happened a lot. And I do offer a free consultation. I don't just offer, like, I think with you, people can be referred to you from like a doctor or something. Mine is word of mouth. They kind of have to know someone for me to feel comfortable. I'm alone in that studio all day. Just from a safety standpoint, like I don't really want to just let anyone come in off the street. That's terrible. But I do want them to know somebody that I know. And
so somebody can vouch for them.
Right. Yeah. So like the owner of the studio, she has sent several clients to me, and I've done consultations with them, and it's been great. And yeah, my old boss at the gym, like he would refer a lot of people to me, friends. I mean, I get texts all the time. Hey, can I give your number out to this person or whatever? So yeah, that's usually how it is. And then if I did have a consultation with someone and it didn't feel like I could help them, I would be honest in that moment and just say, I don't know if this is the right thing. Maybe you should go to the doctor. I do recommend physical therapy a lot. Go and meet with a physical therapist, get cleared from them, get cleared from your doctor to come. Because I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not a doctor. I really try to avoid anything like that. If they're having really consistent pain where it's a fresh injury, I mean, I'm not qualified to take that on. For the most part, all of the people I've met, like, it's been wonderful. And yeah, most of my people have been with me for 2 years.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. So that's like very long-term relationship building. And so the title of the podcast is Get Comfortable.
Right.
I guess in your industry, specifically your profession, what has your experience been with people who haven't been in a gym or haven't done classes or training? Like,
yeah, it can be really intimidating.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first time I went into my first yoga studio, I had been doing like videos at home. And I was like, I don't feel like I can go into a yoga studio until I like know what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah.
So I went and got like some DVDs. This was back, DVD.
When we did that.
Yeah. I'm aging myself here. But I got the DVDs and did, my first yoga class like in my living room on the mat. And the day I decided to go into a studio, I was terrified. I am not an extrovert. Like, that's out of my comfort zone to just show up by myself and go. And it was scary. I didn't know what to expect. It's a whole different vibe going to like a yoga studio. I feel like it's changed now. I think people are more welcoming now, and it's very, very different from whenever I first went in. It was pretty serious and quiet, and you walk in and it's very, I don't know, there's like the spa music and no one's talking and everyone's like moving quietly on their mat, and then the teacher enters and it's almost like this very like authoritative like thing, And so when I started teaching yoga, I was not going to do that.
Yeah.
I stood at the door. I welcomed people because it's scary.
Yeah.
I think that prevents people from doing it because it's scary and it's intimidating. So I hope that's changed a lot. A lot of the classes I've gone to here in town, I think West Texas it's different too.
Yeah.
They're very welcoming and want you to come in and want you to breathe and do your thing. The gym, oh my gosh, I think it will just always be intimidating, because I think also as women, we're bad at like entering a space and kind of owning it. Like we're going to like hide in the corners. And at the gym I go to, there's a women's area.
Okay.
And there's a lot of women in there. It's smaller than the big part of the gym, but they still have like a lot of machines. So that's always an option. But I would just say like, just be brave.
Right.
For real. Like, be brave, get out there, go. Most of the time, no one is looking at you.
Right.
And if they are looking at you, like, just ignore them.
Right. You don't know who that is.
No. I mean, there's always going to be the people that, like, make you uncomfortable, but I haven't had that feeling at the gym I go to.
That's great.
So, yeah. But also do it at home.
Sure.
Work out at home if you can. If you're uncomfortable going, just, like, move your body.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the big takeaway. Just move your body.
Yes, please.
That sense of going into a gym for the first time, or like, I think it was a great example to say that before you went to a yoga class, you did yoga at home, so you know how to do it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you could just go to a yoga class and they would like teach you how to do it.
Nowadays, yes.
Right. Yeah, but
go to a beginner yoga class, yeah.
Yeah. And that's no shade from me at all, because I would do the same thing. I would think, well, before I go to this new thing, I need to figure out how to do it. I need to know as much as I can about it, but like, that's
it's okay just
going.
To go. Right. You can just go and be a beginner.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of teachers who will ask, is this anyone's first class? Or they'll check in with you at the beginning of class, like, have you done yoga before? Just tell them no. Just say it. This is my first time. I'm nervous. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Almost every yoga teacher I know in this town would be like, you're going to be fine. And they're going to keep an eye on you. And they're going to make sure you're safe.
Right.
All of us have our first time. We're all beginners at some point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I try to do that now. If I'm going to go do something, I'm just going to go. Like, this is the first podcast I've ever been to. I told you when I walked in, I'm nervous.
You're killing it, though. You're doing great. Yeah, it's a unique experience. But that's something that I still struggle with, is like going into something new. Mm-hmm. But I think that's a really common thing. Like when I get people that come and see me and maybe they've never been to therapy or counseling, and it's hard enough to be in a space where you need it and to find a place to go. But like people come in and I'll shake their hand and I'll smile and be like, hey, come on in, let's go like hang
Yeah.
out in my office. And my
People are
office is-
nice. Yeah.
If you are nice to somebody and they're not nice to you, like that's them. Like,
Right.
let them
That's
have
not
that.
on you.
Right.
Yeah. And if you do go and try a class and you don't like the teacher, keep trying.
Right.
You're going to, not everyone is your cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when I did my teacher training for yoga, they were like, not everyone's going to like you or your class. It's okay. Your people will find you.
Yeah.
Just keep teaching.
Yeah.
Keep going. Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a fun thing about being in yoga teacher training myself was that I felt some intimidation because I want to say everybody else in the class had more of a regular practice than what I had at that time. But it seemed like we were all interested in different types of yoga, like from the beginning.
Right.
I'm a restorative yoga person.
Oh,
all
I
the
love
way.
restorative
It's
yoga.
my favorite thing to do.
It's wonderful.
There was another woman in the class who was really into handstands, and I don't do that.
Right.
Even in the training, I was like, no,
Right.
it's not for me.
Yeah.
But that is what some people are looking for versus
Yeah.
Kundalini or restorative and all the other things.
Yes. Yeah. Nowadays there's a yoga class for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You already mentioned art, your involvement with art and your love of art, but like when I went to the Artist for Artists and I was like, oh my gosh, I know that name and like all this, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And
I
so
don't share that very much.
But what you made was beautiful. Like,
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm curious how much of your time still goes into art at this point.
Unfortunately, not that much. I really like doing that show. I think Art in Uncommon Places is awesome. And so I try to do that one every year. I didn't get to last year, so I really tried to do it this year and make a point to do it. I used to all the time. I really thought like I would make a go of that.
Yeah.
I used to do the markets here. Like I did Paintbrush Alley.
Yeah.
And I would sell all of my plant hangers and wall hangings and plants and everything. And I loved it. But it's hard to make art a living. Like not just because financially, but because it is such a vulnerable thing and some people don't get it and they are not afraid to tell you. That's when I really was like, well, I know I need to go back to yoga. I need to go back to teaching. And I kept doing, the fiber art and everything for a while. And I'm so busy right now.
Yeah.
So I love it. My son will help me make stuff. He's so cute and he's 6 and he will come over and like, what are we going to do today, Mama?
Aw.
So I still love doing it. I have stuff all over my house. I make stuff for friends and my family. Sometimes I do Bloom. I didn't get to do the Bloom show at Raw, $18.99. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've ever been
I
to
went
that
to
one.
the Bloom show, it feels like a long time ago, but I do always see it on social media and I'm just,
Yeah.
every time there's an art event here, I'm just kind of blown away by the
Yeah, it's
talent in this
amazing.
town.
Yeah. There's so many amazing artists in San
Yeah.
Angelo. Yeah.
including you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. I need to make more time for it.
You've got work and you've got a kiddo, and then there's probably times that you're like sleeping or eating or
Yeah.
doing your own thing, and you have.
I try.
You're married.
Yes, I'm married.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you got.
My husband's also in the fitness industry.
Okay.
Yeah. He works at Goodfellow. He's a strength and conditioning coach there. So,
Okay.
and we have fun. We design programs together.
Yeah.
And
Like, what does that look like in a family? Like, are you not making everybody do things, but like encouraging that and like building that as part of your family culture?
you mean like movement?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all work out together.
Oh, I love that.
We do. We try as often as we can. When he was little, it was always, especially during COVID, we would have like family workout. He's always moved. When we first moved here, I would take him to the KOA. He'd be in his little jogger stroller. I would run. And then we would get out the last little bit and he would run. And he still remembers that and he still runs. So for a little guy, he can run 2 miles.
Oh my
Without
gosh.
stopping. He has a lot of endurance. I told him he's going to do cross country one day, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, he lifts weights with us. He does yoga. I have videos of him doing yoga with me. He knows how important it is.
Yeah.
And he'll say, we're having a hard day or something happens. He's like, oh, Mama, we just need to go breathe. Or we need to, he does legs up the wall with me. And he has since he's 2. When he started having tantrums, it was like, I suggest it to a lot of my women that come and they laugh and they're like, really? And I'm like, try it. Like, they might giggle and wiggle around or whatever, but it kind of changes the vibe.
Sure.
He loves movement.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important for kids. And he'll say that, I got to get my wiggles out or whatever,
yeah.
So
It sounds like the way that it is a part of your family, so it's fun, and that
Yeah.
like, he's probably always going to associate with like
Yeah.
movement and exercise and doing these things with fun and taking care of himself and not like, oh, I have to go do this thing.
Yeah, and we never approach it in that way. I mean, there's days where, I'm like, oh, I really need to go get a workout in. But it's not, I don't want to. It's just, I got to make it happen, and maybe I'm tired. Same with my husband. But really, I think my husband has been such a good inspiration to him and I. Because when I met him, I was not moving. We met right after I had my knee surgery, the last one where I broke my kneecap. And he has always moved. Like, he's always done weightlifting and, like, been very athletic and intentional with, like, his movement. And it's always been for his mental health. So, and he's always talked about that. We talked to Charlie about that, my son. It's good when you're not feeling good, if you're angry or, yeah, we need to breathe, but we need to move our bodies and, like, get that out, get that fire out. So, and I try to encourage the rest of my family to do it too. My sisters are really good about it. My parents have gotten a lot better about it. I'm really proud of them. And so it's important to our family. I think we try to be role models in that way.
Yeah. I like what you mentioned about, like, when your son was 2 and having tantrums and, like, using movement and yoga and breathing. Then I never would have thought of that.
Right.
But we sort of do it as adults. So, like,
yeah,
just because his emotions are bigger or were bigger.
My emotions were bigger too. Watching someone go through a tantrum and, like, hit you or, because they can't regulate, that's a hard thing for an adult to deal with too.
Sure.
So a lot of it was like, mommy needs to step away. I need to go breathe. I need to take a minute. And then he saw that and he would say, like, okay, like, we would breathe together. And I don't know, it was a very natural thing for me, but I had done that kind of work for years. Like, meditation was always my way of, like, handling my anxiety or anytime I was struggling, like, dealing with something. So, yeah, I think if we can be that model for them, it's super important.
And kind of building it into his life. Like, well, you said he's 6, but still, he doesn't know anything else. It's amazing.
No. And he will say that sometimes, like, if we see other kids, like, they need to breathe, mama. So he's very aware, and I don't know if that's just him and who he is, or hopefully we had some part in that.
Sure.
But
he had to get those ideas from somewhere.
Yeah. He's a pretty cool kid.
It sounds like it, yeah. So we got to that because we were talking about art, and you were talking about your son kind of joining you in that.
Oh, yeah.
And the reality of, with all the things you're balancing, there's not as much time for art.
No, not as much. But I'm not really in a place where I feel like that's lacking necessarily. I'm creating programs for all of my people. And I'm creating classes. I just, like, did this whole pelvic floor workshop where that was really fun. I also made, like, snacks for them. So I find it in other ways, like cooking and just doing little things around the house. So I'm not making these big art projects anymore, but that's just not I'm not there right now.
Yeah. I think it's really good to think about creativity outside of making art. Like you said about making food for the workshop and developing programs for people. That's creating. And I think it's really easy to get our wires crossed and think that creating is art or making a thing or building a thing. But it's like, even if you're just writing down a program, you're building a thing.
Yes, you're still creating something.
Yeah. How was the workshop?
It was great. Oh my gosh.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was so great. I was so happy, kind of blown away. We sold out and then had a few extra. And this is the second one. The first one was really small. I think I had 8 there. And it was amazing, too. Like, it was amazing in a different way, really intimate. And people shared a lot. And that was really special. This one was just so big and wonderful. And everyone was laughing and having a good time. And I think a lot of people didn't know what to expect. I get it. Like, we don't talk about our pelvic floor a lot. We should, but we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously,
so
there's
really
a need
fun.
for it. You sold out.
Yes, yeah. I've already had several people ask me when I'm doing another one. So hopefully in the fall I can make that happen. It's a lot of work to do that.
Sure.
But it's important to me that, women know. We have a lot of women that have issues that they don't even know about their body, which is hard.
Yeah. But I think that goes into a lot of women's health care, especially, well, I guess all of it, but menopause and changes that happen to your body over time that we just don't talk about. And then
No.
I can't imagine women who may be experiencing something and they're afraid to say something, so then they're just kind of suffering alone and feeling like there's something wrong or something unusual, but it's sort of just because we don't talk about it.
Right. And then there's, the others that are like, oh, my pelvic floor is fine, and I might, like, pee when I sneeze or something, and laugh it off. I've heard that a lot.
See, that seems like something that's not fine.
It's not fine.
Okay.
No, that means there's a problem.
Yeah.
But so many women have that. This has kind of become a big deal for me. Because originally I was not that deeply invested in the pelvic floor. I mean, I was after I had my C-section and had my baby because I struggled with that. But even then, like, I really thought it was, I'm just an anomaly. This isn't everyone. And then I started training all these women and found out that they were not doing anything about it because they didn't know what to do and they didn't even know that they should be doing anything. Right. I was like, okay, well, we're going to try to fix this. And then working with all of them, they kept saying, oh, well, my friend has issues, or my mom, and then I started talking to my friends and they had issues, and I said, okay, there's got to be a way to like get everyone together and we all learn together, and it was so great. Yeah. Like, I had the best feedback, and I think a lot of people really resonated with it, and I hope it helps them.
There's sort of this air of, this is just how my body is now, like that you can't do anything.
Right.
Like,
no, you definitely can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
As people age, they just get like that. I mean, I'm 42, and I know people in my life that are like, oh, our 40s, we're just going to start hurting everywhere. I wake up and my back hurts, or my knee hurts, or my hip hurts. And no, that does not have to happen.
Right.
If that's happening, there's something wrong. There's an imbalance of some kind in your body, and you can fix it if you want to be, intentional and do the work. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, too, just don't feel it anymore. Too. I get a lot of clients who come in and they're like, well, I am hurting, and I ask where, and they don't know. They just know they hurt.
Oh.
And they've lost like that mind-body connection of, your body will stop telling you at a certain point that you're in pain somewhere so you can survive, so you can go about your day-to-day stuff. And not that there's necessarily an injury there. It could be from arthritis, It's really unfortunate. I hate that people just, kind of let themselves be in that state. I don't know that there's a lot of people that do what I do or talk to people about, it's okay that you're in pain and we'll figure it out. We've got to move through it in a way. Like, we have to breathe and we have to like get back in that connection with your body and be present with the pain, which is uncomfortable. But you have to. Otherwise, you're just going to suffer.
Yeah, that is also very familiar to
me.
Yeah, this idea of like,
yeah.
Because like physical pain, there's emotional pain or emotions that we don't like, and I try to be very careful with labeling emotions as good or bad, and it's like, well, here's pleasant ones or unpleasant, or ones you like or ones you don't
all
like.
All a spectrum, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But like, the reality of being a human being is that you're susceptible to all of them. So if you're angry, okay, you're angry. That's fine. Like,
feel it.
You don't like it, and maybe you grew up with somebody who said you weren't allowed to have that, but you do have it, and here we are.
Right.
Or fear or sadness. It's like, if people are in the emotions that they like, that's so much easier.
Yeah.
But they sort of end up in my office because they have anger that has stopped showing up as anger. It shows up as something else.
Right.
But like, you're feeling angry, and we got to talk about it. You got to make friends with it so we can like set it down and leave it.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy what our brains will do? It'll lie to you, for sure.
Burying stuff.
Yes, yeah. But it can change. I mean,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And your body's the same way. It can change and it can get stronger. Yeah. You just have to take care of it.
I grew up in one of those families where people were just hurting physically and like complaining about it and talking about it, but not doing things. And I'm not great at that. Like, my consistency at the gym and with my own things is not where I would like it to be, but like I'm still hanging in there, and I try to keep in the back of my mind that like, as I age, it will get harder to do these things.
Yes,
but
it will.
If I'm just doing a little bit of the things, like, that's better than not doing any of the things.
Yeah, it's a little bit each day. And I think a little bit at a time. Like, start small and keep going. I read a thing, I think I posted it on my social media one day because I was like, this is so good. But it was like, do you want to be the oldest person in the gym or the youngest person in the nursing home? Ooh. And that, yeah. And I remember one of I don't even think it was my client. I think it was another client from another, They're like, I saw your post on social media that like hit me hard.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I feel like that was me, that I felt like the oldest person in the gym. And she wanted to quit. And she didn't, because she was like, I don't want to be the youngest one in the nursing home. I don't know what happened, because I feel like, and I don't know how old you are, but when I was a kid, we were outside all the time. We were moving all the time. I remember my parents, were in like sports leagues and like did stuff like they moved. My dad would run with us in the mornings, when we were in junior high. Like they moved a lot more. And I just don't see people doing that anymore. I feel like even when our kids are being active and we're watching from the sidelines, we're sitting in chairs. I just don't know what happened. I don't know why that changed. And maybe it was always like that. And I just have a different memory of people being more active. But
I'm not an athletic person, but I know as a kid playing outside, I grew up in Ohio, different climate, a lot of different things. But, riding bikes with the neighbors or my cousins or just with my sister. Yeah. We were outdoors and we'd walk to grandma's house down the road. Or like we had certain areas we could walk and it was just kind of what you did. And if you weren't doing that, you were reading. And but we didn't have screens. I think
we didn't have screens. I don't want to
sound like a grouch, but I think that's a big thing.
It's huge. Yes. Yeah. And that is something that we limit in our house that I think has helped a lot. Because not just for my son, I mean, I limit it for myself. My husband limits it for himself. It's just not good for your mental health, to be honest.
It's not.
It's really bad.
That is a very popular topic in my office.
I bet. Yeah. And I love that there's this new, I don't know if you've heard, like the younger generation, I think high school and college kids, they're now saying, oh, well, we're going to get off the phone. And it's a new trend going around. Yeah. I hope it really happens. So. Yeah. Because I think it's important.
I think our younger generations are like feisty. I like it.
Yeah.
So we're sort of getting to the end of our episode here, but I have a couple of questions for you to kind of close out. I want to know if you can tell our listeners, what do you get asked about the most, or like when people seek you out for services, like is there a specific injury or something that they're seeking that you're seeing over and over again?
I get a lot of like back pain and hip issues for sure. Yeah, especially out of the women. Most of the men that I work with have shoulder stuff. And I don't know why that's different. I think the hip and back pain is a lot from sitting. Yeah. A lot of sitting. And then my people that have shoulder and neck, if they're not over a certain age, they're usually working at a computer all day. So I see a lot of that stuff. And a lot can be done to fix that. But yeah, you have to move and breathe.
Stand up from your desk. Not that I know anything about that. In past episodes, a thing that I have really enjoyed asking guests is if you could have one person like come to work with you, and they don't necessarily have to do the work, but just like being present with you, is there anybody, a real person that you know, a famous person, living, dead, fictional character, is there somebody that you would think like, oh, I would really like that person to come and work with me for a few days?
It's probably cheesy about my husband. I would love to work with him. Yes.
I don't think that's cheesy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we have a lot of fun. What he does, I usually help him with the mobility and injury side for his people. Yeah. And then he'll help me with like if I'm doing new strength stuff, and he'll create like programs for me to work out. So I think it would be fun for us to have a few days where we were just working together, and he can see what I do and I get to see what he does. Yeah.
Oh, and then you could switch. He could work with you for a few days and then you could go with him for
that
a few
would
days.
Be cool. Yeah. I would love that.
And you mentioned earlier the couples that you work with, that they're having fun and it seems to be good for their relationship kind of overall, which I know that you have a busy schedule. We kind of covered that. But like, what is it that keeps you from doing this with your husband? Like, could he come to work with you?
He is such an introvert. I think part of mine is that I talk a lot to like, how are you? Tell me about your day. We share a lot of like personal information. He is a coach. Like that's it, the difference between he is a coach and he has hundreds of military students that he coaches. So he doesn't have that personal, I mean, a little bit, like they know him, but he's not sharing like his day. He doesn't know what's going on. I think that would be like really uncomfortable for him. He would hate that. Yeah. I think that's probably, what prevents him from, he said he would never want to be a personal trainer. Yeah.
So that's a barrier for that. Okay.
But he was a football coach before he did this, and he's always worked with a big group of people, and he really thrives in that setting. So I don't think he would love to do what I do.
That is now making me kind of be in awe of all the different ways a person can be an introvert, because I'm also an introvert, and like a big group.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely not. But like one-on-one in my office or this, it's fine, but like.
Right. And I'm the same as you. When I teach my group classes, it's overwhelming. Like I had 23 people looking at me at the workshop, and I like am very honest about like this is not my comfort zone, you know. I'm doing this because I feel like there's a need and I'm trying to fill that.
Yeah.
But no, it's not my first choice. He can feel more anonymous in that big group setting, and I don't know if it's because someone's not just staring at him, like looking right at him, talking to him. I don't know what it is, but he's in the big group and going around to each person like coaching.
Yeah.
And he has 2 other coaches that work with him, so there's 3 of them. I don't know. I don't know what it is about.
Having other coaches feels like cheating. Like,
I mean,
Kinda
when you got
spreading
like
the-
100 guys, though,
Yeah,
you
guess
have to. Yeah.
so the small talk, which it's not small talk, but maybe for him, those kinds of conversations are small talk. Like, how was your day and what's new with you? And
Since it's the military too, they're just like squat and they like give the instruction and they're not having to like, delve into these like deeper things. Yeah.
it's all business.
It is all, yeah, it's all business.
Okay. I think that's a great answer. And it does sound like with your experience working with couples and seeing how it works for them, and just that this is a family affair for you, that your husband works in the same industry in a way, you have your son involved in it. Like,
Oh yeah, my son comes to work with me sometimes. You know, he's young, so when they're on summer break, there's days where my clients know him and hear about him all the time. And yeah, so they know, and they hear about my husband all the time. Like I feel like they know our family very well.
Yeah.
Which I love. Yeah.
so when your son is at work with you, is he doing his own thing or is he sort of
Yes,
like
no.
watching you? Okay.
No,
Okay.
I set him up with the tablet, watch your movie and play
Yeah.
with your toys. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, he's separate. He will sneak out there occasionally and, you know, like, what are y'all doing? But it's fine.
That sounds like a really great way to do that so that you have the freedom to have him with you when you need to and that he's comfortable with your clients and they're comfortable with him. Like,
Yeah.
that really is going to, I think, continue to feed into him being into fitness and moving.
I hope so. Yeah. I hope he never gets sick of it.
One last thing, not a question so much as like, can you kind of give us a rundown of your schedule? I know you mentioned you're going to start teaching the class on Fridays, but
Yeah. July 11th at 5 at Mandala Den. And that'll be the functional movement yoga. It's kind of a mixture of mobility, strength, and then yoga. Not traditional yoga. So it will be different from most yoga classes that, you know, people have been to. If it's your first class, please come and tell me.
don't be shy.
No, yeah. And it's pretty gentle, so.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
And then I'm going to hopefully have a pelvic floor workshop in the fall and possibly a posture workshop too.
Oh.
All at Mandala Den.
All right. Thank you for being here with us
Yeah.
and sharing so much. It's been a joy to have you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
All right.